Ohio primary voters to decide key races. Welcome to Columbus on the Record. I'm Mike Thompson. Tuesday is primary day in Ohio, the day when primary voting ends. The biggest races, governor and U.S. Senate, do not have really competitive primaries, but a couple of down-ballot statewide positions do. There are primaries for Secretary of State, Treasurer, Attorney General, Supreme Court. There's a pretty interesting Republican primary for Congress up in Northwest Ohio. Gene Krebs, you know, it's kind of a lot of little stuff in this primary, not a big race. What are you looking for?
I'm looking for the total counts on various ones to the right. For example, in the governor's race, Casey Putsch, Republican running against Ramaswamy, has flat out said that if Ramaswamy wins, he's not voting for him, and he's encouraging his people not to vote for him. A few weeks ago, you had the Bowling Green State University poll on. When you go down through the poll, you find out a significant portion of both Casey Putsch and Heather Hill's folks will not be voting for Ramaswamy. And in talking to my neighbors and relatives, which where I'm from, that's the same thing, they're all going, no, we're not voting for Ramaswamy no matter what.
Maria Bruno, what are you looking for as a Democrat?
Honestly, he took the words right out of my mouth. I'm actually a political independent, so I don't participate in any of the primaries, and I don't have any qualms with staying out of those mud fights. But I similarly am looking at the Republican primary results to see how big this divide amongst the party really is.
Turnout is always the key in these off-year elections, midterm elections. Andrew, is this going to be a sign of how motivated each party is, or because there are so few really contested races, it's hard to tell?
So something I'm looking at, I think the picture will be less clear on the Republican side because the last comparable election in 2022, there was a pretty competitive Republican U.S. Senate primary that year. There was a governor primary on the Democrat side, but I don't think people really got super engaged on it. And that year, there are about 1 million Republican voters and about 500,000 Democratic voters. So I'm going to look to see if there are more than 500,000 Democrat voters who turn out this time. And if it's significantly more, I'd see it as a sign of people being more enthusiastic than they were during Biden's midterm.
Casey Putsch, the competitor for Ramaswamy. Heather Hill was also on the ballot, but she's been disqualified pending a court challenge. What number would give Ramaswamy pause? What percentage would Casey Putsch have to get to give him concern?
In talking to people who know more than I do, which that's a huge universe, we generally consider the number anything above 14% to be deadly for Ramaswamy. If it's like 10 to 8% for Putsch, that's possibly survivable. But the other complicating factor that nobody's yet talking about that much is that there's libertarians on almost all of these important key races, and you know they're just going to spoil. Is just going to see a lot of spoiled campaigns out there all over the place in Ohio this cycle.
Maria, Amy Acton has no competitor. There is a Secretary of State's race which is competitive, but the Democrats have the good and bad of having a primary opponent. The good is if you don't have an opponent, you get to save your money. The bad is you don't get any attention. You don't motivate voters.
Yeah, you know, especially with Amy Acton not necessarily having the same name recognition as some of the other candidates, that's certainly, I'm sure, a concern. But on the other hand, I don't think you get in their way when they're destroying themselves. And so I think at this point, you know, pre-primary, I don't think they mind staying out of the light and letting the Republicans, you know, throw mud on each other.
There's speaking of mud on each other, the real rock fight, Andrew, is this GOP race for treasurer. Jay Edwards, former state rep, Christina Rogner, current state senator, gotten kind of negative and nasty. Ramaswamy backs Rogner. J.D. Vance backs Jay Edwards. What's going to happen there?
So that Bowling Green poll that Gene referenced a few weeks ago showed that race tied at something like 15% with 70% of voters undecided. And that's basically like throw a dart at a dartboard and see where it lands. But you're right, that race has gotten really nasty. At the very end here, there's been negative advertising moving on both sides. I mean, I guess I won't say what it is because but like we will see how that one turns out. And that is money that Republicans are spending that they're not spending for the general election. And, it's for a race like state treasurer, which typically flies under the radar, it's been kind of more eventful than you might expect when they're really arguing about like how are we going to manage the state's finances. You know, it's not the sexiest topic.
So why is it so nasty, Gene?
Because there's a huge amount of undecideds, and you've got two conflicting trends going on at the same point in time. Traditionally in Ohio, we couldn't beat Mary Ellen Withrow when she was the state treasurer here in Ohio because significant numbers of people think the state treasurer keeps the state checkbook, and in many households that is the wife's responsibility. So it should be done by a woman, they think. Just the messenger, don't kill me for saying this, okay, folks? At the same time, you've heard me say before on the show, the largest ethnic group in the Republican primaries right now in Ohio and many other states is the Appalachian diaspora, the displaced Appalachians who came up 50 years ago and their descendants. They're all voting for
Jay Edwards.
Jay Edwards, the senior moment. They're all voting for Jay Edwards because of that Appalachian roots, and his advertising actually says, I have Appalachian roots, vote for me, I'm one of you. I don't know which way to go on this.
On the Democratic side, Allison Russo, former House Minority Leader, is running for Secretary of State against Brian Hambly, a physician from Cincinnati. You would think Allison Russo, pretty high name recognition, even though she's just in the House, would have a clear sail to this nomination. Does she?
You know, I think people are really struggling with her vote on the maps. I think redistricting is a huge priority, especially for Democratic-based voters, and so the fact that she has that on her record, that's really hard for a lot of folks to understand. I personally understand why it was a case of two hard choices with no good answer, but I do think that hurt her a lot. I also think Brian Hambly entered early, and he was well-funded, and he has been doing the work. He's been traveling the state, and while no one might have heard of him a few months ago, he's put the work in to be a recognizable name now.
Northwest Ohio, the 9th Congressional District, Andrew, Marcy Kaptur's seat. 5 Republicans running for the chance to take her on. Josh Williams, state rep, Derek Merrin, who narrowly lost to her a couple of years ago. How do you see this one shaping up?
It's one of those ones, there hasn't been a lot of polling on it. I've been following the Kalshi betting data, which God knows what that's actually teaching me, but it has Derek Merrin with a really high % chance of winning. I don't know if that's just because of the residual name ID he has from running a couple of years ago. Madison Sheehan, who's a former deputy ICE director running in the race, she has been spending by far the most money in the race. She's the only one who's been on TV a lot there. So there's kind of like some cross currents going on. I don't really know who's actually going to come out on top, but I guess we will find out on Tuesday.
Josh Williams has been working really hard to please the far right up in that district. All the bills he's filed over the past 4 or 5 months at the Statehouse. Is that going to help him?
I don't think any of that matters. And here's the unfortunate, I'm just being the messenger here again, folks, so don't have all the hate mail come towards me. That seat last time was decided by a Libertarian taking votes away from R.C. Kaptur. It's more a Republican seat now. The thing is that the Libertarians are running on one single issue, is vote for us, we will eliminate your property taxes. And because that's not going to be on the ballot, they're filling that void. And the question is how many Republicans cross over to vote for the Libertarian on that? That's a direct steal from the Republicans. I think that race, because of how the Libertarians are structuring their campaigns, I think a lot of races are now in real danger for us.
Who does Marcy Kaptur want to face? There's not on the issues, there's not a lot of difference there. Does she want to face the former ICE official?
You know, I think they all come with their own baggage. If I had to suspect, I think in a district that is going to be more moderate-minded, I think Josh Williams has, for all of his pandering in the primary, he's really set himself up for a hard general, given that he now has all of these bills connected to him that are really unpopular ideas to broad swaths of Ohioans.
And that they've drawn the district to help Republicans, but she still is very popular up there.
Look,
Marcy Kaptur is.
It's a plus 10 Republican index, but Toledo has the largest single population of Hungarians in America, I've been told. And she's Hungarian. And once again, it goes to ethnic loyalties tend to trump everything else.
And I wanted to say, I saw a poll that showed a MAGA Republican losing to kind of a moderate Democrat in that race. So just because they voted for Trump, I don't think that we should assume that these are like hard right Republicans. And so I think being too far to the right could be damaging in a general. At least that's what that poll would suggest.
All right. There is an interesting ballot issue in Richland County, north of Columbus. Voters there will decide whether to overturn a ban on big solar farms in most of the county. Richland County commissioners last year banned utility-scale solar farms, but a group called Richland County Citizens for Property Rights and Job Development put the issue on the ballot. Supporters of the ban on solar farms say they want to preserve farmland. Opponents say the ban amounts to government overreach that infringes on farmers' property rights. Andrew, this is going to be really interesting because Mansfield is a former manufacturing town. That's in Richland County. They've lost a lot of jobs over the past decades, but it's also very rural. It's going to be interesting, jobs versus preserving farmland.
Yeah, it's kind of rare to see this kind of issue just be directly on the ballot. I know I've been curious about where public sentiment is on these things because a lot of the opposition that we've seen so far has been driven kind of like by, you know, a vocal segment of the communities that have been banning these. So I guess if we actually have an election on it, we'll sort of see where that stands. But I'm also interested whether people's attitudes are different now that like gas is $5 a gallon and maybe they see alternate energy sources as being something maybe worth exploring more than they were just like a couple months ago. I think you see the solar people aren't arguing for solar energy, they're arguing for property rights. So there's just kind of a lot of interesting like political factors in this race for a county level election.
Gene, you live in rural Ohio.
Yes.
How do you see this playing out?
Ugly, neighbors against neighbors. We have a solar farm going in a couple farms away from us. I'm going, okay, it's their property, it's their right to do it. I tell everybody, though, back home that you need to understand that there's no pretty way to make electricity. Every single way to make electricity is ugly, and to transmit it is even uglier. And unless you're Amish, you have a stake in this. So you need to be aware of how this is actually going to play out. If you want to ban all renewables, that's fine. You need to then understand your electricity is going to go up. You have to be aware of this trade-off.
Maria, the fact that they're not leaning into the climate change or green energy, is that wise on the opponents of the ban, supporters of the solar farms?
I think so. I mean, I think when you're talking to other rural Ohioans, you will hear quickly exactly what you just said. It's their land, so they get to do what they want. I think, you know, especially given what's going on with soybeans and, you know, tariffs, there are a lot of reasons that farmers are looking for what to do to make sure that they can keep the roof above their head on their farm. And so, you know, one of those things is leasing out land for solar farms, among many different things. And so I think there's still this fundamental principle, whether you're Republican or Democrat, you have the right to do what you want with your own property. So I think it's a smart move, honestly.
And as my 7th and 8th grade civics teacher always told me, the right to swing your fist stops where your neighbor's nose begins. And solar farms actually have a minimum impact. Research from San Francisco shows that, and I think this is true for the majority of my neighbors who are against my other neighbors getting solar farms, it's a matter of jealousy. Oh, I wasn't offered that much, you know, and they're worried about them getting ahead economically.
This is kind of an odd geography. Where you are, it's flat.
Yes.
So you can hide the solar farms with tall arborvitaes.
You could put in a bush and hide them, yes.
Richland County is hilly.
Yes.
It's going to be hard to hide solar farms up there. You're going to see them. When you drive up 71 on the hills, you're going to see solar farms if they don't ban them. Is that a factor?
It could be, but you got to remember here, though, a lot of people move into a community to say, oh, look at this beautiful view shed. I'm going to take advantage of this view shed, but not pay anything towards keeping that view shed. Now, if you want to assemble several thousands, hundred thousands of dollars and pay the farmer to agree never to put solar farms in there because you value your view shed, what looks out your kitchen window, you could do that.
Are other counties watching this vote, Andrew? I'm guessing, because there's like, what, 30 or so counties in the state that have banned solar and wind farms, right? Give or take?
It is just kind of like a novel case for an election to be held. You know, this was put up for a referendum, and you have kind of outside groups coming in and spending in it. So I think it's, you know, they're wondering if, you know, if this succeeds or fails, it might inform whether other counties try to do that. And it's really like, it's like a political campaign or something like that in that regard, even though we're talking about solar energy.
It also feels important to mention that, you know, the Statehouse has treated solar and energy very differently than it's treated, you know, oil and gas. So I think when we're talking about renewables versus non-renewables, that adding that into these property rights conversations, it's fine if you poison the water, but it's not fine if on my own land I have, solar panels. You might have to look at them. You don't have to suffer any consequences other than that.
Because the state has prohibited local communities from banning fracking wells, where they've allowed local communities to ban wind and solar.
So next year we celebrate 30 years since the Farmland Preservation Task Force was formed. That's where I cut my public policy teeth on. And I'll flat out tell you that if we had adopted as a state everything that we suggested in there, you would not be having this debate right now. You'd have tools to properly manage this, and we would probably have 1 million more people living in Ohio, but with almost no farmland having been converted over to housing. So there are solutions out there, but everybody needs to do some due diligence, look at that, and create a good, proper balance.
All right. If Larry Householder wants to get out of federal prison, it'll take a presidential pardon. This week, the U.S. Supreme Court upheld his bribery and racketeering convictions. The court also denied the appeal of co-defendant lobbyist Matt Borges. They were convicted for their roles in the $60 million scheme to get Householder elected speaker and then guide the passage of a $1 billion bailout of 2 nuclear power plants. Householder argued his support for the bailout did not involve a quid pro quo. Andrew Tobias, what was the feeling? Was this a long shot on Householder's part to get the Supreme Court to overturn it, or did they really think they had a shot?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a legal expert, but I do know that there's been some cases at the U.S. Supreme Court in the recent past, that have kind of paved the way for the definition of bribery to be made basically hard to convict somebody of it, or harder than it would have been. So it's something that I think people took seriously as a possibility, but I do think that the pardon route is kind of more viable. If you look at what happened with P.G. Sittenfeld in Cincinnati, that shows that has happened for an Ohio politician. And you even see Attorney General Dave Yost pursuing his state case against Larry Householder, even though he's currently serving a decades-long prison sentence, specifically because he wants it to be immune from a federal pardon. So I think that the pardon issue is definitely, if you look at like what people are actually doing, they're kind of, you can infer that it's kind of more of a live possibility.
Maria, is there any merit to Householder's claim that, look, they gave a lot of money to his campaign, but it's because he supported the nuclear plants. He supported the first energy utility strategy, that it wasn't a quid pro quo. They paid donations to a politician they supported.
I think that if we had less information, it might be easier to make that argument. But I think the reality is, at this point, we've seen so much evidence that it was a little bit deeper than just supporting their policy choice. I mean, he was actively lobbying for this policy and doing, a lot of the legwork around getting it done because he was getting these checks. So to me, I think that's quite different than just happening to have the same position as the people that donate to you.
And he did have some personal benefit, house repairs in Florida, stuff
Right.
like that. Gene, is this case over now, barring the pardon? I mean, it's been 6 years since he was indicted, Larry Householder and Matt Borges.
No, I think that the president will pardon Larry for the simple fact that Larry has the receipts. I've been told this, 2 separate sources. He has the receipts on very damning evidence about some Republicans. Excuse me. And I expect that to be a significant error that Larry is also coming up for trial, and Larry will probably offer Dave Yost everything he has on the table to get off of that.
There are 2 defendants in this case that still have not been sentenced. They agreed to plead guilty years ago. Cespedes and Longstreth.
Yeah, well, there's an ongoing federal case against the 2 First Energy executives or former executives who prosecutors to kind of basically masterminded this whole thing. So I guess it's, I can infer that it's because the case is still open there, but it has been 5 years since they pleaded guilty, and we're still talking about it. So it's just interesting that we haven't had any resolution there for sure.
And Maria, the system hasn't changed. The House Supreme Court has upheld the utilities charging customers for the 2 coal power plants that were a part of the scandal that are inefficient or obsolete.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is what happens when you have pretty much a captured court. We saw it in the redistricting fight. Now we're seeing it with this bribery scandal. When their main goal seems to be getting the right people off the hook, that's what you end up with.
Why hasn't it changed how the State House works, Gene, or how utilities work? Or maybe it has. Maybe I'm underselling it.
Until people get punished, you're not going to see anything change. And just to give your listeners more context, I got in October of 1992, 2 weeks before I took office, I was offered a bribe. Okay, and when I spoke to my political senior mentor about that, he says, well, that's just the way the game is played around here. And you've sent the message that you can't be bribed, so they won't offer it to you again. But you've also put a glass ceiling above your ability to move up the food chain. And he said, basically, in the nicest way possible, son, you're done.
But the conviction of the Speaker of the House in a 20-year federal prison sentence
Still not enough.
Was not enough.
Not enough. No, it has to be for the lobbyists have to see what happens to the FE officials that they got punished for handing out the money.
The utility.
The utilities have to get punished for handing out the money.
Okay.
So something that I've heard, Vivek Ramaswamy has said on the campaign trail that he believes that lawmakers were reluctant to tackle energy issues proactively because of kind of the cloud hanging over House Bill 6. So just to at least put forward the argument that did it have an effect? Like, we have not had any campaign finance reform or ethics reform, but some people argue that the state's energy policy was different as a result. Just throwing that out there.
Okay. All right. For decades, a large sign has hovered over the State House declaring the Columbus Dispatch as Ohio's greatest home newspaper. Its attractiveness is in the eye of the passerby, but it is an historic landmark right on Capitol Square. Well, the Center for Christian Virtue wants to put a big display on its building across from the State House. The center applied to the Downtown Commission to put 3 crosses on the roof of its building on East Broad Street. The Downtown Commission denied the request. It ruled the crosses do not match the city's design guidelines and the style of the Broad Street corridor. Maria Bruno, the dispatch sign is pretty big, a little big for the building. Why not have crosses? What do you think is going on here?
You know, it's a really interesting legal argument. It's even when you read about it, they refer to it as a religious symbol, they refer to it as a graphic, they refer to it as speech itself. And, you know, from a First Amendment standpoint, those distinctions are actually going to be fairly important. So I think it will make for an interesting case. Now, that being said, this is not the first time or even the third time I've been asked to comment on CCV's shenanigans, and I don't think it's a coincidence that it makes for a nice test case. So, you know, I've seen the renderings. They're not particularly attractive in my view. They're a little gaudy. But, you know, I don't know that that's the point of this. I think, in fact, perhaps the more, you know, abrasive it was, maybe the better.
Is this a higher power trolling here, Gene?
I don't know, but are you referring to their planning document? Is that what you're referring to as the higher power?
I mean, they have 3 crosses right across from the State House. It's like, hey, we're watching, you know.
I know. I think what this is going to, and I have to piggyback on what Maria said, is the fact it's going to come down to what does the planning document actually state? How is it stated? And can you look around to other examples of churches, synagogues, mosques, how do they handle their religious symbols, if any, being prominently displayed as far as the planning and zoning rules and regulation? That is very arcane, and I'll be real honest with you. I have not taken the 16 hours it needs to go ahead and read it.
Andrew, you're down at the State House a lot. If you go down East Broad Street, you know, from the corner of High Street and Broad Street, there's a lot of signs, and some of them are gaudy and flashing and rolling, and I mean, they say there's guidelines and standards. I don't see them.
Yeah, so you mentioned the dispatch sign, and I was just kind of thinking when you said that about, do you really think that Columbus would have opposed something that the Wolf family wanted to build in their building in the 1950s, just based on my understanding of how the city worked at that time? So I think I can infer that it kind of is about politics in that sense. Just, I mean, that's just like I can't prove different. That's kind of just like a hypothetical, I guess, or I'm speculating. But I also saw Aaron Bayer, who leads the Citizens for Christian Virtue, tweet alternative designs. He had like a statue of Harambe, the Cincinnati Zoo gorilla who got shot and killed. One of them was the Hell is Real billboard off of I-75, and maybe that was a little bit more on brand for them. But so I can't really tell how seriously they're taking this when he does stuff like that. But it does raise interesting First Amendment issues, and it's interesting to imagine what that might look like being added to the Columbus skyline.
Just remember that the U.S. Supreme Court generally refers to the First Amendment as being fairly absolute. So we'll see how this plays out, how far they're going to take it.
We shall see. Let's get to our final off-the-record parting shots. Gene Krebs, you're up first.
Whoever is governor in January of next year has a huge crisis no one's talking about, and that is, I believe, the coming fiscal collapse again of the Ohio Department of Transportation due to the rise of gasoline prices. People are driving slower, combining trips, and the gas tax has got to be taking a hit from it, which means construction.
Maria Bruno.
You know, I'm really interested to see how these referendums continue to play across the state. We have a lot of local issues, and we have a lot of folks trying to get on the ballot at the state level. And I think it's great that Ohioans are taking, democracy in their own hands, and I'm curious to see how it works out for them.
Right. Andrew.
I'm kind of all elections all the time, so I was trying to think of something else. The Cleveland Browns came to mind. The draft was last. They didn't. We're back to the point this year.
Well, I might also tag on the Cleveland Browns. They broke ground on their new dome stadium this week. Governor DeWine was there, as he often appears at groundbreakings and ribbon cuttings. And he again floated the idea of a tax on betting companies if the unclaimed funds cannot be used for the Browns stadium. Bet that will not fly at the State House. So they better hope for the unclaimed funds if you're a Browns fan or if you're the owner of the Browns. I think the stadium will get built no matter what. Anyway, that is Columbus on the Record for this week. A reminder, you can watch us on demand at the WOSU News YouTube page. Go to YouTube, search WOSU News, and there you can see and share every episode of this program. We're also on demand at WOSU.org and the PBS app. For our crew and our panel, I'm Mike Thompson. Have a good week.